Hello and good day everyone. I'm Ken Ivan Bautista, and in this video I'm going to present to you my research paper for the two subjects modeling and simulation and parallel and distributed computing, titled Testing Election Surveys Simulating the 2022 Philippine Presidential Elections via Monte Carlo and Parallel Computing. However, in this video I'm going to focus more on the modeling and simulation part of my research paper. So for introduction, so we are living in a democratic country, and we know that elections are the biggest event, or one of the biggest events, where Filipinos have direct say on how our country is going to be governed towards the future. So the reason why I'm focusing on the 2022 Philippine national and local election is that there was hype in this particular election. In my time, there was an all-time high social media uh, engagement. People are constantly engaging in political discussion. So uh, political discussion. So during this time, surveys are the hot trends, especially from the Pulse Asia Research Institute and other organizations. Every updates of their surveys really engages people. It's the talk of the town, and these surveys mainly focuses on age and demographic status, which uh, which I'm going to be focusing for the simulation. So the question that I'd like to answer is this: do these demographic breakdowns accurately reflects the factors influencing our election choice, or do we want a lot of information to truly comprehend Filipino voting trends? Are these two basis for surveys demographic enough, or do we want more surveys that really reflects how Filipinos choose whom to vote during elections? And the last one is, does the using Monte Carlo methods and parallel computing techniques are sufficient for predicting these incredibly fundamental demographic factors? So let's see in this research. A review of related literature. So the focus here on why uh, elections happens every 6 years. So the influence of and limitation of election polls, it shows that sometimes surveys do predict results, especially percentage wise. And then the Monte Carlo methods in this research, since this dissimulation is probabilistic in nature, surveying decision making, so Monte Carlo really fits as a method to be used for the simulation. So theoretical background focuses more on the paper by Ulachai, where they found that they reviewed that voting decisions are shaped by age, gender, and other demographic factors. But I'm going to focus more on the age and socioeconomic factors, where they found that older voters prefer the known candidates, while younger ones are greatly influenced by social media, while socioeconomic factors impacts how people gain information based on the elections. So understanding these demographics uh, can accurately model and predict voting behavior, especially diverse nation like the Philippines. Next is the uh, theoretical basis for the simulation, the Monte Carlo simulation, and which is used by Tonmibi and Olatokun for their research, where they also uh, used Monte Carlo for a random and uncertain behavior like during elections. So, and then the parallel computing, where since I'm going to simulate millions of voters and thousands of precincts, and they are independent from each other, parallel computing really helps to improve the efficiency of this simulation. So methodology is voters can have a randomly assigned demographic attributes, age, and socioeconomic status following the uh, uh, reported distribution by COMELEC for the age of voters, and then the article surveyed by Albert, where he distribute socioeconomic status percentage wise. Then the next is presidential preferences. The surveys from Pulse Asia Research Institute is used as weights or probabilities uh, based on age and socioeconomic factors on uh, the preferences of the voters for the candidates. And this is how I'm going to use them. Like example, Robredo. So this is based on socioeconomic status. So people from low income have 24% chance of voting her. Middle income 23%, and then the upper income has 29% chance of voting Robredo during the elections. So Monte Carlo simulation, I've said, is since it is probabilistic in nature, and the simulation and voting is probabilistic in nature, so this method fits the simulation. So the simulation process involves the voter's creation, where as stated earlier, random age and socioeconomic attributes is given to the voters. Then probability assignment, the age based weights or probabilities, and then the socioeconomic based weights or probabilities. Then those two probabilities are then combined into one for the voting simulation, where the voters now choose the candidate based on the final combined probabilities. And in the cases where the voter refused, or I refuse to vote, or part of the 10% where it just randomly selects a candidate, it will be forced to vote again to ensure that there are no missing data from the simulation. Then finally, after simulation, the tallying and analysis of the data using statistical tools such as chi-square, Pearson correlation coefficient, mean absolute error, root mean squared error, and then standard deviation, just to compare the results from simulated versus actual results. So for the results and discussion, so these are the total votes comparison, where as you can see, for Marcos, the actual and simulated votes two is accurate, 58.7 and 58.6%, while the other like Robredo, Montemayor, the other one have very little or medium difference from the actual votes. This shows the level of accuracy of the simulation for predicting the total, or the total votes of the actual simulation, actual election. The next one is the regional votes percentage, where the blue ones from each graph here represents the regional votes for each candidate. So the blue ones are the simulated, while the red ones are the actual. And as you can see, the blue ones are almost uniform. They have very small differences. Since they have they are like probability based results, so it is expected that all of them are similar compared to the other regions, while the actual votes differs, especially in this the last one, the bottom left one where the actual is significantly very significantly different from the simulated one. This means that the the simulation model can accurately predict the total votes. It it uh it has a difficulty uh in accurately predicting regional votes, because regional in regions, other demographic attributes like religion, culture, and other region-based demographics can greatly affect the results of the election. So error matrix analysis. These are the uh, average from each precinct. So as you can see, the MEA, RMSE uh, are very high, uh, are very high, supporting the findings uh, from the regional based percentage vote percentages. They the votes are vastly different from each other region wise, and the standard deviation from actual and the simulated one also differs. Like the higher the total votes, the higher the difference between the standard deviations from the actual versus the simulated. And then lastly, the correlational analysis using chi-square. The strength of the chi-square is very big, while having a p-value of 0, signifying that there is a significant difference from the the actual versus the simulated uh, votes, which is expected since it the simulation already fails on the regional votes percentage. It shows here, and the chi-square just supports the lapses of the simulation, while the person correlation coefficient shows a near perfect strength on the linear trends of the simulation. So uh, even though it fails to accurately depicts the votes, the trends, the percentages of the votes have is accurately simulated by the model. So uh, in conclusion, using uh, parallel and Monte Carlo simulation model effectively estimate national level votes share, especially for the winner of the election, Ferdinand Marcos Jr., suggesting that in large environment or in nation-based voting, uh, age and age and socioeconomic factors are enough to simulate an election. However, when it comes to the regional-based election, uh, the nuances of the each region are not captured by the simulation. Uh, the simulation overlook other factors like geography, culture, religion, as I've mentioned earlier. This simplification revealed a key limitation, relying solely on two demographic variables. So since there are only two variables used, it misses critical dimensions of voters' behavior. So raising concerns about adequacy of current survey methodologies in the Philippines. So I hope that there are other surveys based on other demographic factors that they're going to do, so that we can accurately predict the elections. So that is all for my presentation. Thank you.